going with Ois Yud Ches. So the Rebbe pointed out in this Pasuk, Shlach L'cho Anoshim, various nuances that need to be explained. And in order to explain it, he reintroduces the thing that we discussed previously, the principle that the oilers are pshutim. On the other hand, they are not pshutim, what's called pshutim mamosh, like the Ein Sof itself. There is still a distinction between the oilers because we say there is asas sphirot. Even though the asas sphirot are bli ma, which need to be clearly identified with bli ma, but nevertheless there is asas sphirot. So they are pshutim but not pshutim. They are pshutim relative to kelim, but they're not pshutim within the realm of oil per se. These oiros that we say in oil hakav, that are esas sphirot that are not 100% poshut, are rooted, are present even above, even before the tzimtzum, and then they are called esas sphirot hagnuzos. Gnuzos means stashed away, which means the moker, the shoyresh, the root for koyach hagvul, podinyan from gvul. So all this, Mitzvah Hashem, will hopefully assume some greater sense. ועל פי זה, ועל פי זה, based on the above, אפשר יש לומר, it's conceivable that it can be said, מה שמשמעו הוא עץ חיים. That which is implied in the Eitz Chaim. Who? That is, shehoye yochen li is gilui oil hakav mibli sheyitzamtzum ho'er. There's an implication in the Eitz Chaim that there could have been the oil hakav, the gilui of the oil hakav, without having gone through a tzimtzum. Mibli sheyitzamtzum ho'er. V'yisalim, and they should be completely concealed, but chilo at first. Where is that implication? This is first going to be introduced. Okay, let me just keep us connected over here, otherwise. Since you're saying that there is esas sphirot hagnuzos, the contained esas sphirot, and these sphirot, esas sphirot, are contained within the Ein Sof. Therefore, this gives us a means to understand the implication in Eitz Chaim, that in fact there could have been the gilui, the revelation, and the focus of the El Hakav without there first being a tzimtzum, the Salam Oyer. So again, let me introduce this a little further up. We have been learning all along, pointing out that there is in Oyer there are two distinct levels. There's what we call Oyer Ein Sof and Oyer with Oyer Hakav. In Nar Mushalim, the easiest way to think of it is, like we say all the time, the daylight and a focus light. Daylight, as we pointed out many times, is a light without a focus, and it is an infinite presence of light. It is so infinite the presence of light that it's not even dependent on a source. There is not, in daylight as it was initially created, was just a light reflecting the light the way it is in truth, the truth of light, without the need of a luminary. A luminary is necessary when you have to break through darkness. But daylight does not have to break through darkness. It doesn't recognize darkness in the first place. It is an Ein Sof element of light, a fundamental reality. As we said, as fundamental as darkness within the worldly context. This is all as a means to relate of this union of Oyer and Sof. This is Oyer and Sof. And then there is Oyer Hakav. What is a kav? A kav means a focused light, a beam that has a focus. A focused light has to have a message. What is it trying to do? What is it trying to say? And in order to try to do and try to say something, it has to have an inherent message. In other words, what is it about? That's the Oyer HaKav. This is why normally we understand that the Oyer HaKav has to be preceded by a tzimtzum. But where the fundamental truth of the Oyer is retracted, is concealed, and therefore it leaves absence of light. And then you have to reintroduce the whole principle of light into a state of absence. And then you're introducing it in a controlled manner, so that it can be accepted within this absence. Let us put more skin on this. Bones and skin to this idea. We speak all the time that every child is born with a neshama. Life, the neshama that's given at birth to the child, is a godly life element. This godly life element, and this we discussed many times, it is really a godly experience. There's nothing in the world that supports life, that explains what life is. And this neshama comes down, is mislabish into a body, which is completely limited to worldly parameters, and does not know how to relate to this life. Therefore, life has to be introduced into this body state in a gradual, in a very focused manner. There's an interesting, I've mentioned many times, the Gemara says that someone who is sightless, in the Gemara, Lashon Gemara is called Sagi Nohor. Sagi Nohor means he has an excess of light. So what's so terrible, an excess of light? An excess of light precludes being able to see a physical object. Remember we spoke about this child in Eitz Chaim that was born and he knew the whole Torah. Because prior to birth, the Malach teaches the Neshama the entire Torah. But then there's a tzimtzum and he's supposed to forget it. And this child was born without this tzimtzum. He knew the whole Torah. This knowledge served no purpose at all in his practical life in the world. On the contrary, it interferes with his participating in worldly life, because his knowledge was at the level that he could not correlate it to world. It meant nothing. Knowledge in world has to be somehow correlated to world. In other words, it somehow explains something in the world. And through that, you know you have this knowledge. But if he had this knowledge unrelated to world, he didn't tell him anything about from his current state, then it was a useless knowledge. So give him. Therefore, in order that it should be sphirot, we say there has to be a tzimtzum. In simple terms, tzimtzum means that you retract the Ein Sof element of Elokus. And then that permits the expression of Elokus in a focused and a limited manner. That's called a beam, a cup. What is the principle of a cup? A cup means a line. How is a line formed? One point after the other. You can go indefinitely. But you are, so to speak, teaching the Beis after you've taught the Aleph. And the Gimel after the Beis. And if you teach him all Aleph, Beis, Gimel all together, so it's the same principle. Come on, can't you learn it? No way. You have to teach him an Aleph, not the principle of Aleph, but the Aleph and the Beis and the Gimel and the Dalet. Yes, indeed. After you learned Aleph, Beis, Gimel, he can more readily understand what you mean by Dalet. But it's a separate teaching. It's a separate presence. This is called a kav. We're amazed many times when you have a child starts off from nursery school and learns in a kav manner, one thing after the other. And lo and behold, by the time he's 20 years old, he's a lamdam otzu. Not only does he know what he learned, but he understands its depth and its principles. What happened? What happened is that this kav, this learning, and we said, once you learn an aleph, you more readily understand the Beis, because you understand the principle behind the aleph. There is something to say, there is something to reveal, there is something to express. And the more he learns, the more he understands, he relates to that lofty principle. So that there comes a point where he sees the inside and the neshama of the Torah he learns. So even though it comes in the form of a kav, this kav is rooted in Ein Sof, in Ein Sof. And it's intended to reveal the Ein Sof, but in a kav form. In a manner that can be presented and accepted within worldly limits. However, there is an implication in Eitz Chaim, that there could have been the Gilui and Hakav mibli tzimtzum ho'er v'yisalem b'tchila, without having to mitzamtzum the oir, and that the oir should first be in yisalem concealed. How can it be Gilui Hakav without concealing the oir inside? The oir inside does not allow for kav. You have the whole thing. How can it be a gilui of a kav of one point after the other? In each having an element of gvul, when there is a erisay. The Hine. Why are we introducing that idea? Eitz Chaim Shar Aleph Seif over Nun Gimel Hiksha. And Eitz Chaim, almost at the very beginning, he asked a question. Lama hoya tzimtzum beifun kozeh. Why was the tzimtzum in such a manner? Shenistal lego oir legamri. That the oil was totally removed. And thereafter the kav was brought forth. Instead, he did not leave behind that bechina of the kav in its place as it was before. And then he would remove shar ha'oil ha'godol bilvad. And then he would remove only the excess of the great light, that which exceeds the kav. This is what the Eitz Chaim asks a question. We are going to study this question.
Can you say this question once more?
The question is very simple. Since the Kav is representative of the Ayin Seif, except it is a limited representation. So why do you need to remove the Ayin Seif? Totally. You have to remove some of it, but not totally. Remove the excess.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, just 1 second. Just 1 second. Coming back to our motion of the daylight. You're not able to sleep in daylight. In other words, if your windows are all exposed to daylight, it's impossible to sleep. So do you have to block off all daylight? Or is it good enough to put on shades with some cracks in them and allow the light to come through, that which can be tolerated?
Not to make it totally dark and then to find some...
That's right, not to make it totally dark. What's the point of making it? Why? That's what the question is. Why do you have to make it totally dark first? This is the question that Eitz Chaim asks.
Can I ask?
Yes, I'm sorry.
When we say there was a tzimtzum, the tzimtzum by forming the kaf, or the tzimtzum is by nistala goy legamra, before the kaf came in?
The tzimtzum is nistala goy legamri. That's a tzimtzum. The tzimtzum is sila goy legamri. The kaf is referred to, as we learned in the previous pamphlet, was chazav v'heir. Was an introduction.
Is a focus, a light, taking away the element of the Ayin Seif in the kaf itself.
Okay, do me again. I didn't follow the question.
It was explained before that the kaf is taking away the element of the Ayin Seif. It becomes a focused light.
It doesn't become. It's drawn latchila as a kav. First, the Ayin Seif was removed completely, and then a new element was reintroduced in the form of a kav. Go ahead. I'm just correcting the way you're presenting it.
Yeah, but I understood from before that the symptom was that in the kaf was taken away the Ayin Seif element. It became a focused light.
No. That's exactly what we're saying. That's not what happened. What happened was that the Ayin Seif was removed completely. Nothing remained. And then the Ayin Seif was reintroduced in the form of a cup.
And the kaf was missing the Ayin Seif element. It was focused.
Yeah, of course. There is not even the element of Ayin Seif. It was hatchila introduced only in the form of a kaf.
Okay.
The Ayin Seif at that point became a distant source, a shoirish, but not an actual presence. Let me explain to you. we are up to the limit of our time, and our Gaba is not next to us, so we have to be careful now. I want to say this. You're teaching a child AyinBase. A real good teacher is one who stoops down to the child's level. And as he's teaching him the Aleph, the child thinks that his Rebbe only knows the Aleph. And the Aleph means so much to his Rebbe that he's teaching it to him as an Aleph. If the Rebbe says to him, you think I'm excited in the Aleph? The Aleph to me means Anoich Hashem Elokecha. You're going to teach a child. You have to teach him an Aleph, exclusively an Aleph at his level. And if this Aleph by you clearly means Anoich Hashem Elokecha, then you will not be able to relate to the child. You have to teach him the Aleph to tell him there is more to it. But initially you have to teach him the Aleph as an Aleph. This is it for this morning.